it felt like either I have to sacrifice my relationship with myself or I have to sacrifice my relationship with my mom. And usually I kind of lived in this weird limbo space where I'm sacrificing a little bit of each, but like I'm not fully me and I'm not fully connected to her. So it's a really multifaceted experience of loss, as you can imagine.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Enduring Grief, Healing Practices and True Stories of Living After Loss. And today is just a fantastic and very special day for all of us, especially you, our audience, who gets to listen to the wise words of my very new friend, Aurena, talk about all the work she's done to help the world understand and deal with grief in a new and innovative way. And, you know, I feel very fortunate because I just slid into her DMs and my 16-year-old would be very happy that I'm using that kind of language. Or maybe he would be very embarrassed. He would probably be more really embarrassed. But I slid into her DMs because I ended up with a beautiful deck of her cards called Planet Grief, which is that the whole title? Planet Grief. Yeah, that's the whole title. And it's rituals, somatic practices, connective questions, and more to support grievers and their loved ones after loss. This was a beautiful gift. It was actually a romantic gift from my boyfriend, which was really sweet because he is a supporter who's trying to understand my grief. This has been a tool. But anyway, I was so amazed by the work that Aurena and her sister Brianna have done with this deck of cards that I just reached out to her. And then I came to Washington, D.C. So we're actually on scene today in D.C. doing this podcast for you. And now I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us what we need to know.
Oh, well, hello. My name again is Aurena. I am a co-author and co-creator of the Planet Grief deck, and I'm also a licensed mental health counselor and a registered yoga instructor. I specialize in working with trauma and grief using brain and body-based modalities, things like EMDR, brain spotting, internal family systems, and sensory motor therapy to support healing.
We do some of the same things.
I know.
I do those things too. Well, I don't do all of those things, but some of those things. Okay, so you and your sister just said, hey, we know what to do. We're going to design this beautiful thing and make it happen. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I remember the conversation. I was on a walk. I was on the phone with my sister and I was talking to her about the different grief resources that I've been engaging with, the books and things like that. And I was just talking to her about like, I wish there was something that was more tailored to my grief. And I didn't connect so much with like the guided journals because they felt a little overwhelming, looking like at a giant book with like a bunch of prompts. I just felt a bit overwhelmed by that in like the acute grief state that I was in. And my sister, Brianna, had already created 2 decks in the past, one called Hack Your Nervous System and another called Kingdom Calm. So she was kind of already in that sphere. And as we're talking, she just goes, do you want to create a deck? Wonderful. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, that's honestly one of the things that I thought about when doing this podcast, because when you're overwhelmed with grief, to like follow instructions and read a book and think that you're going to do that isn't possible for everyone. Some people, I think it's really possible. Great. And for me, I was like, I was so thirsty to hear what I was supposed to do, what was going to happen next for me. And I just really couldn't find anything. And I know they're out there, but when I was in that state looking for information, it was like, more stories of loss, which it's, you know, always normalizing and helpful to hear other people's stories. But there was always this question mark of like, now what? Now what do I do? Really, truly, how am I supposed to answer the question, how are you, without being a total asshole? Is it okay to be an asshole? What do I do when I'm crawling around on the ground and I feel like I'm going to die because I'm alone? And I also feel like I would die if somebody came to me. Yeah. Right? Like, I love that you did this, and I really feel like you and I are and your sister are so aligned in the now what part. Because there's so many now what's in your deck. So many. Yeah. Does that make sense when I say now what's? Like, you can't just sit in it. You got to have a path forward into catching your breath, into learning to live with the loss. So did you guys have a loss? Is that what inspired it? Have you endured your own grief?
Yes. And first I want to just say that I so agree with what you're saying with the now what. I think that the deck is really meant to support people in tending to and processing their grief rather than just, you know, reading someone else's story, which can also be helpful, but
it's hard to hold somebody else's story in those darker days.
And everyone's story is so different. So this is about like exploring your own story and giving some concrete support with that. But yes, it was born from our own experience with loss. We lost our mother, Maureen Hayes, in September of 2023 to uterine carcinosarcoma.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Was it a quick illness?
Yes, it's literally, she was diagnosed in January and she was gone by September.
Wow.
It was crazy quick, and she was like the healthiest human being to like an annoying degree, like so about her health. So it was shocking in every way. We thought she was going to live till she was like 99. Her parents lived till they were like 99.
Wow. So many veils were lifted for you both at that moment. Like the veil of, oh, health protects me. The veil of my mom will be here. The veil of mortality won't touch my life right now. And boom, boom, boom. Gone, gone, gone.
Yes. Yes. It was like, oh, I thought this is such a horrible thing to say, but like, I thought this happened to other people, not me.
For sure. Not yet, not now, not me. Yeah. I think that it's beautiful for those who get to continue to live in that world, because we all got to live in it at some point. So enjoy it. Because either you or they will die. One or the other will happen. And then you're going to face it. Right?
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Because it's going to happen to you too. It's either you or them that has to go.
Like,
and
yeah,
to live without the veil is harder.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you find? Like, one of your cards talks about like, what have you learned about your grief process? I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? To live without the veil.
Oh my God. My life is so much richer now. It's so much, and I hesitate to say this only because I know that it can be really hard for someone who's fresh in their grief or deep in their grief to hear someone say like life got more beautiful, because it can feel like you're silver lining it. But I want to expand the definition of beautiful and say that it contains a lot of ugly and a lot of pain. But it's just more, there's more color in my life. There's darker colors and there are lighter colors. And I'm richer in my connections with my people. I'm richer in my connections to my life and just like the experience of being a human, because this is the experience of being a human. You can't escape it.
No.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. And I often say to listeners, like, you might be arguing with me in your mind right now that will never be possible for you, that you will never look at your grief experience and say that something lovely or beautiful or more love or more something better has come from it. And I also want to say that for a lot of us, I can say, right, so much has come from my grief about how I interact and move through the world. To that degree, I would undo it all if I could have, right? Like, it's not a one or the other situation. It's not like, don't worry, I'm so glad that terrible thing happened to me because now look at the beauty. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you get to live in this reality, which includes your loss, in the most meaningful way. And if you allow it, if you work through it, if you tend to it, there is love and beauty can come from it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Okay, so I love that you guys call it tending to your grief, because grief tending, I think, is a word that we should make more popular.
Agreed.
I did an interview with, her name is Brennan Wood, and she's the executive director of the Dougie Center in Portland, which is kind of the hub for children's bereavement. And she said that they're trying to normalize the language grief-informed care. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that? Grief?
No.
It's
but
such
I
a
love
dumb
that.
moment, right? Like, yes, of course. We don't say things like, this happened for a reason.
Oh my God.
Everything's in heaven. It's going to be okay. They're happier where they are. All those dumb things that we've had to live through. But yeah, grief-informed care, grief-informed language. I love the grief tending. Okay, I pulled my favorite grief tending card. So the deck, tell us about the deck.
Oh, love that. So the deck begins with a gold card, which is just basically a little loving reminders card to support both the griever and potentially the person who's supporting the griever. So there are the connective conversation cards, and it's kind of a guide for how can someone who's witnessing another person's grief really compassionately hold and presence that without trying to fix or change it.
Yeah. I love this. On my website, we have what's called the Grief Supporters Manual, which is, I mean, it's basically everything that you talk about in your deck. But to have a supporter with a little bit of a roadmap, I think can make such a difference. So I love the gold card.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I and we can get into this later too, but with support, if it's coming from somebody who hasn't been initiated into the realm of great loss, then it can often be like they don't know what to do with it. They want to fix it. They don't want you to be hurting.
Right.
And so this is kind of a guide of, okay, how can you just witness and be there?
Oh, it's so hard for people.
So hard.
Part of my experience, I think, was really enhanced, if that's the way to put it. I do struggle with the grief-informed language when I want to say things like, I was lucky to have, because nothing felt lucky about it. But in the end, the support people that I had were a lot of hospice people, because I did hospice social work for a long time. And so they weren't afraid of death. They weren't afraid of grief. And the people who I love the most had zero experience with it. And I just think, oh, I wish so badly I could have handed these out. You know, even my cousin who you met this morning, who did everything she could possibly do, I know would have said, boy, this would have been helpful. Because she will talk about, and that's why she left the room, everybody, because she knew I would call on her, because I told her, I said, I want you to stay, but she knew I'd call on her, because she would talk about like, so her own sadness around losing me, right? Like on top of losing my daughter, on top of losing my dad and watching me suffer, there was this element of, and now my best friend is gone. My sister in life, she's not going to come back. Like just at dinner the other night, she said, I just never thought we would sit here and do this again. I never thought you were going to come back. And I think that if supporters could hang on to that nugget, like, no, I'm not the same, but I'm here and I'm laughing hard and I'm out to dinner and I'm on this trip and having a good time, right? And just to know like that is possible for your griever. I'm really sidetracking here.
Oh no, I love it. I love the sidetracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have our guest here today, and I kind of feel like telling myself to calm down a little bit. Like my energy, my intensity. This is one of those moments.
No,
where
your intensity is like
down.
It's revving me up. I love it. Keep it coming.
I also had 2 espressos. Trying to get it together. But yes, I think to start out with the gold card it's just really incredible. What a great idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Tell us about the other cards.
So it's split into 3 different like chapters, I guess I would say, or sections. So we've got, and I honestly can't remember which one comes first because I
scrambled them all up too.
Yeah, mine are all scrambled up as well.
Shoot.
I'm thinking maybe grief tending is actually first, though. I think they're in the right order. So grief tending is basically somatic practices and rituals that somebody can engage with to basically have that ongoing relationship with not only their grief, but also, if they choose to, the person or people that they've lost, and to their larger community if they choose to include them, and also to themselves, like to how they're growing and changing and evolving throughout their grief process. So yeah, it's a connective thing.
You got to get to know it. You got to get to know your grief. You got to get to understand how, and we're not ever going to totally understand. February, I got hit by a sudden upwelling of grief that I did not expect, and it knocked me to my knees. So it's not like you can anticipate each and every wave. Ain't going to happen. However, I think you can evolve into an intimate relationship with your grief through things like your grief tending. And that is how you get through, guys, is by facing it. That means you enter into the room of grief. You look around that room, you start to learn where things are, how you move through that space with the lights off, with the lights on. I just think that and additionally, it can become the relationship you have with the person who's gone. It's not the one we want. And yet we have this one chance to have this relationship with them, which includes the suffering, which includes the joy, and even sometimes boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay, so I picked one of my favorite grief tending cards. They're all my favorite, I'll be clear. But this is the one I picked, which is the practice of receiving. As the landscape of your life after loss emerges, at least for a while, you will find yourself without the necessary energy or brain power to complete tasks that previously felt like second nature, like making dinner, picking up kids from school, cleaning the house, taking a shower. That was hard. Paying bills, going to the store. All of it is on the table. Place a notepad on your counter where you can see it. Anytime you meet a task that feels beyond your bandwidth, write it down. I love this. I love this because everybody will say, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
The most overwhelming question. You tell me what I need.
Right. You tell me what I need. And to be able to say, okay, in this moment, I know I need this and I'm not going to do it, but somebody's going to ask me and I got my list. So when well-meaning friends ask you what they can do, send a picture of this list and welcome their support. This is a time in your life to sharpen your skills in the practice of receiving. I love that. There's so many layers to that too.
Yeah.
Because grief is a lonely experience. And I don't know that we can make that go away because you're the only one who can actually do it. But you don't have to do it alone. And I think there's a difference there.
Yeah. And people are never going to stop saying, let me know if there's anything I can do. Like, I really want to spread the word as much as possible to stop doing that and just do something.
Just do something.
Just do anything, literally. But they're not going to stop. And so this, I think, is an empowering card because we might not think of it in the moment that someone asks. But when we're like moving around the kitchen and we're like, oh my God, I don't have the one thing that I can stomach right now. Yeah. Add it to the list, send it to the many people that are asking what they can do.
And is this something that you did and went back to write it down? Or did you later go, that would have been helpful?
Later went, that would have been helpful.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also like to call that the wisdom of our experience. And I think that as we move through all of our days, grief or no grief, supporter, whatever role you're in, to think about like, what did I learn about today? And where can I capitalize on that information tomorrow? Yeah. We ignore that and we stay so stuck in the older versions without all the information. And I just think like pause as a griever or as a supporter and say, what did I learn about how today went?
Yeah.
And what can I apply tomorrow to make it just a little softer?
Yeah. There's so much to learn. And it's really easy to shut off in the angst and the anger and the emotional tornado of it all. It's so easy to shut off, but oh my God, is there so much to learn. I mean, this is the, as they call it, the great equalizer, the thing that levels us all. But I think it's also the great unifier. Like there's so much connection to be had. And this card is kind of like inviting your people into deeper connection, even if they don't know what it's like and they don't know what to do.
Right. Because if we had to know what it was like and truly understand in order to be supportive, boy, nobody would get a thing because it can't be done. You'll never know. You'll never know what it's like.
No. And also grace to the many people that said, let me know what I can do, because I have surely been one of those people before I went through my own experience of loss. Like I was the let me know what I can do friend. Yeah. I am no longer her and I'm grateful for that. But yeah.
I was too. I remember I worked with a dear soul on my team for hospice and we were together for years. We saw all of our patients together in the South County of Deschutes, which is very rural. And her son had died, and I would say things to her like, I would die if that happened. And I'm sure that poor woman wanted to reach out and just choke me with her own two hands, but she didn't. Thank you, Gia. You didn't. You let me live. Because what a dumb thing to say. Like we all wish, like child loss especially, I think you just go, yeah, we would all anticipate dying from the heartache. And yet, not an option for me.
Yeah.
I didn't die. I have to keep living. I have another son, you know, like all the reasons why you keep living matter. And to say something so stupid. I said it.
We've all done it.
Oh my word. So many stupid things.
It helps have the grace for the people that do it to us in their own ways.
Exactly. That's wisdom of the experience, is to have grace for people that say things and speak up and say, I know you love me and you're doing this thing because you love me, but guess what? Not helpful. Here's what would be helpful. Yeah. And then you pull out your list.
Yes.
Because you've been tracking what would be helpful. Good stuff. Okay. Quotes on grief. I have 3 that I pulled. Well, this one was one of my favorites through grief. I just clung to this one. Like, I think I would send it out in text messages, especially after so my daughter died in 16 and then in 18, we decided to try and have another baby, and then I was having a girl. So I have another daughter. And this just was like, all I could ever say is, we shake with joy, we shake with grief. What a time these two have. Housed as they are in the same body, by Mary Oliver. I mean, we shake with joy, we shake with grief. And I would suspect that we do that prior to deciding you're having another baby in big events, because you do. You laugh at things still. And what a time these two have as they're housed in the same body, because to let both be true takes effort.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think it takes effort? And did you trust it? Did you trust the joy in those darker days?
The joy almost felt in the darker days. It felt two ways. One, it felt like a buoy, like I have to, oh my God, that moment of laughter, like, oh, I'm still alive. But it also simultaneously felt like a betrayal. Like, and I also didn't want people to think that I was okay. So I didn't want them to stop checking on me if I like laughed too much or smiled too much.
Yeah. Don't be too happy. Stay sad. Bottom of the barrel sad.
You got to know I'm still sad. I still need that list to be completed.
I am still sad. Sad as I can be still, even though I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. There's another poem by Mary Oliver where she talks about a loss that she went through, and there's one line that says something like, see how laughter still escapes my like astonished mouth.
Oh, God, I love that woman.
Me too.
Her stuff, yeah. And joy is not a crumb. I mean, and today I'm flying low. Quiet as a feather. Let the voodoos of ambition sleep. Let the gnats in the garden and the fish leaping. And I'm still quiet as, what is it? I'm quiet as a stillness, the door to the temple. That was another one of hers that I really clung to, because it was like, I can't speak. There are no words. And then if I would have said, but here's my list. Truly. Because people were so desperate to hear that I was okay and to do something for me. Oh, okay, we're just going to keep going back to that grief tending card because it's so good. Okay, and then here's a poem you wrote called Pompeii.
Aww.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell us about this experience of writing this beautiful poem, and maybe you want to read it for us.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Yeah, I kind of snuck a few of my own poems into the deck. I was like, here, have this, have this. This poem is one that I wrote as my mom was going through treatment, and I had taken off most of my work to take care of her and take her to and from treatment and such. And I just remember her, like seeing her look at herself in the mirror and just like I just see her face drop and like her soul, leave her body. And she just look at herself and be like, I don't recognize myself anymore. And first of all, to watch that scene play out, it was like one of the most painful things in the world to witness. And I knew obviously that I couldn't make it better, but I wanted her to find something familiar. I wanted her to be able to touch something familiar in herself. And so I wrote this poem, and it goes, when you do not recognize yourself, when everything becomes uncharted ground and your bones cannot hold your frame or straighten your spine, find someone that holds you like a full moon in their mind, whole, bright, glowing amidst the dark, black night. Someone who lifts your soul like a telescope to the sky, who can see up close what feels so far away. Find someone who says, it is impossible to outrun your beauty. That beauty pursues you, pours from you, is not preoccupied with the shape of your body, but with the bowl of your spirit, the way you hold what feels impossible to hold. Find someone who looks at the ruin and calls it holy ground, who points to your burnt edges and says, this is what made Pompeii a legend. Someone that recognizes your voice as home, that knows the beating in your chest is the same one that has pumped blood through your holy body every moment you've been here. Place your hand on your chest, friend. Find the most familiar thing. Remember it's still there. Remember you're still there.
Oh, my word. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's just so precious. Did your mom get to enjoy that poem?
She did.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wrote it after, I remembered as I was reading it, I wrote it after driving her to to treatment one day, and she was talking about how unrecognizable she felt. And I just had this intuitive moment of like, let's place our hands on our hearts and just like remember, like, this is the same heart that's been beating in your chest your whole life. Like, if that's the only familiar thing you can touch, like, let's touch that.
Wow. I mean, that translates into grief, baby, right? Like when everything feels rocked and unfamiliar, where can you find all the things you talk about in that beautiful poem? Really? Oh my goodness. That's one that's going to go in the books for me. You're on the shelf with Mary Oliver now.
Oh my God. I'm going to be living on that for a really long time.
She's on my Mary Oliver shelf now.
Oh,
it touches on so many things. Deep vulnerability, facing the reality of what is unfolding, seeking and receiving support and love, allowing the course of nature to unfold, the courage of all of that. I mean, it's just all captured so beautifully. And then just the soul importance of finding something familiar, like just any touchstone of something. Absolutely. Thank you so much for reading that for us.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Oh yeah. Okay. Then another one of her chapters is connective conversation, which, I mean, these are just so fantastic. I can't even, I mean, if you were a grief therapist or you see people with grief issues, which if you're a therapist, you better see people with grief issues, because if not, there's something really weird happening in your practice.
No, if you're a therapist, you are already seeing people with grief issues. And if you don't think you are, then you probably need to take a training.
Give us a call. $7,000, 10 minutes. We'll give you everything we got.
We'll give you our list.
Yeah, exactly. Deck of cards.
Yes.
But no matter what, we are moving through life and we are alongside people who are in grief. And I think that it's very easy to say, well, I'm not a grief counselor, or I've never experienced loss. And even close people in my life who are very educated and clinical, they're like, well, I'm Sarah, you need to take this patient. I'm not a grief. I'm like, but you have to be. You have to have some grief literacy. You have to be grief informed language in some capacity, because that is the human experience. And if you are thinking, oh God, that is me and I don't know what to do, I would really say, look closely at these green cards, the connective conversations, because the questions are so rich. And now tell us, okay, I'm just going to do a couple questions and then I want to hear how you guys came up with them. What have been the kindest words you've been offered since your loss? And another one is, how has your sense of humor changed through your grieving process? And if there was a moment that really sticks out. Now, did you guys think about how those things unfolded for you during your process? Or was it once again, boy, I wish I would have thought of these?
So I'll say the kindest words one was one that was actually born from a deep meditation on the least helpful words that people had shared with us. And we were like, yeah, you could just you could talk forever about that. But then it was like, okay, but let's also acknowledge the really beautiful things that people have said to us, and like the fellow grievers that welcomed us into their loving arms in this process. And so, let's take some time. It's very important to honor that, because it's easy to get lost in the cynicism of it all and the disconnection of it all. So that's where that one came from. And then the sense of humor one actually came from shortly after I experienced the loss of my mother. I joined a grief group, and one of the sessions was on how your sense of humor has changed since your loss. And it was so refreshing, because we all had this like really dark sense of humor now that a lot of people would just like balk at.
Yeah.
And so to just like be in that frequency with people was amazing, and to bring in the levity that, I don't know, it's just so, almost everyone I've talked to, they reach a point where they can make jokes about certain things, and it's like, whoa,
right,
and it shifts, it really changes. If you don't laugh, you cry, and it's important to cry, but it's also important to laugh.
It really is. And I would laugh sometimes and be like, oh, there you are, dear friend, my old friend of laughter. Thank goodness you aren't dried up and gone forever. Oh my goodness, I'd be so relieved at times that there was that still in me, even though it was quick to be judged discarded because I felt like it was the betrayal part.
Yeah.
But to know that it's in there was just so huge. And you're right. Like I have a couple bereaved parents in my practice right now, and it's only us that can laugh about certain things, and never about the seriousness of what we're enduring, but about how fucked up it all is, and like how the whole world just keeps moving around and doing all their things, but mine doesn't. And that is crazy. And how much sadder can I be? Well, let's see where it goes tomorrow. Turns out sadder. Right? Or like, let's see how this anniversary or birthday goes. Oh, yeah, no, I can actually get sadder. And they'll look at me like, but look at, you're okay, right? And I'm like, hell no, I'm not okay. I'm sorry, ladies. You know, it's 10 years out, and yeah, I'm functioning in a different way. But this is the lot that we have in life. And from that ridiculousness almost of knowing that you can survive heartache this way, there can be laughter because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. How the heck does one survive this?
Yeah.
There's a, David Kessler says in one of his books, people ask, how long will I be grieving? And I say, well, how long will your person be dead for?
There you go.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. But I'm curious, when you find the laughter with your fellow grieving parents, like, are those things that you feel you can just laugh with them? Like, do you feel like, okay, this is our secret club and, you know, I'm not going to laugh about this with somebody else? Or what does it feel like to you?
Yes, it feels in those specific times like it's our secret club and we can laugh about these things together. And they would probably say, never tell anybody. And I'm like, well, except for on my podcast. No. But there are other times in which I can laugh about grief in general, in the ridiculous nature of it all, in that it's so unpredictable, in that we want so badly to control, and how ridiculous that is. Like, there's so many ridiculous parts about it. And by ridiculous, I just mean, I don't know, like what do you do with it except live with it, go through it, try to figure it the heck out day by day, minute by minute sometimes. And you think after 10 years, I've got it. And then this last February happens and I'm like, I don't got it. Guess what? This is like somehow a whole new version, a whole new chapter of this experience for me. And you kind of keep waiting for the book to end or at least be in the final chapter. And I don't think that happens either. I think that, yeah, we know for sure we're going to live with this loss in our heart forever. But I also think that the process of what that looks like never stops changing.
Yeah. I had a friend say to me at my mom's funeral, and she had also lost a parent years prior. She came up to me and she said, it doesn't get better. It just gets different.
That's true. And true.
And
story.
In that moment, I was like, fuck, why would you tell me that? But it wasn't so long after that I was like, thank God she said that, because everyone else says like time heals and it'll get better in time. And after the first year, things will soften up. It's like, no. The first year was just like slowly finding my way out of survival mode. The next year was like, oh my God, I'm living life without my mom.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't get better. It gets different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean.
And back to our point of like, go into the room. Learn what the room looks like, memorize some of the patterns, memorize some of the feelings, decide the temperature. You can even tell yourself sometimes, I'm not going in that room today. I know that there are days when I look at my list, my functional list of life jobs, and think today might not be a day that I actively choose to go in that room because the other parts of me are calling. And, you know, that's life. And with time, I think you can develop those kinds of, I don't know, lack of a better word, boundaries with, right? But like the time and place to go into the room a lot is is your call.
Yeah.
Not always. Like February wasn't my call. I was somebody just picked me up, threw me in the room, said good luck in there. That happens too.
Sometimes you have control over when you enter the room, and other times
that's what I'm
the room happens upon you. Yes. And you're like, oh, I'm in the room.
I'm in the room. Here we are in this room. Lovely. So when your mom, was your mom like one of your best friends? How was that relationship?
You know, me and my mom had a pretty complex relationship. I think it started to improve a lot when she got sick, because mortality like was right up in her face, and she chose to open her heart in the face of that, which is one of the most beautiful things I think anyone could, and brave things I think anybody could ever do. And we had a complex relationship. I think she really saw me as like an extension of herself. And so anytime I did something that deviated from what she might do, it was a big problem. And it was all of a sudden a reflection on her. So we had a challenging relationship, especially when I came out as queer. And we were not as close as I wanted to be. You know, I got glimpses of that closeness whenever I was in a relationship, or whenever I was single or in a relationship with a cisgendered man. But whenever it was something different than that, I would feel the distance between us grow. And that was really heartbreaking for me. And it felt like either I have to sacrifice my relationship with myself, or I have to sacrifice my relationship with my mom. And usually I kind of lived in this weird limbo space where I'm sacrificing a little bit of each, but like I'm not fully me and I'm not fully connected to her. So it's a really multifaceted experience of loss, as you can imagine.
And do you think that that implicated your grief process?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think our culture says they've died, now they're a saint, all is forgiven.
Yeah. And you know, that's kind of the mode I took when I first lost her. I was like, there's no point in digging in the past. You know, there's no point in trying to reckon with that at this point. There's not another person in front of me to do the work with me.
Right.
And I will say, like, at the very end of her life, she said something to me to the effect of, like, I never should have tried to control who you love or how you love. That wasn't my place. That wasn't my job. You know, and it was a beautiful moment. And it was like, but we had 28 years of, or like a great deal of years of the other. And then we have that one moment. So I'm like desperately grasping to that one moment, trying to let it resolve several years of like really horrible comments and rejection and all this. So yeah, after I lost her, I thought, okay, well, it's time to put all that behind me. There's no use in going there now. And it wasn't until I started actively planning a future with my now partner, who is a trans man, that I started to hear her like less evolved comments just echoing in my head. And I'm like, oh man, I'm trying to tap into what it would be like to be celebrating this with my mom, but I can't reach that.
Can't get there.
And I talked to my sister about it, and I said, it's so weird because I feel such a deep connection with where she's at now and how I imagine her soul has evolved and learned. That's just my personal belief. But all this stuff is coming up now. And my sister said, well, you don't have unfinished business with mom as an evolved soul. You have unfinished business with mom as a human being in the physical realm. And that, you know, I was like,
yeah, good job, sister.
Good job.
Really good words.
Job, sis.
Good job.
So I was really scared to start processing that because I thought it was going to push my mom, like the little threads I have of my mom, I felt like it was going to push her away. But I realized as I started to dive into it that it wasn't meant to push her away. My love is so big for her. I couldn't do that. What it really did was it healed the little one in me that felt like she couldn't be fully expressed and she couldn't love loudly.
And do you think that you had to actually look at it and say, I forgive you, Mom?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think it was that. It was because I felt like I had already tried so hard to forgive her. It was more like I need to tend to my hurting parts that I ignored so that I could maintain a relationship with my mom.
Okay.
And once I could do that and I could sort of be with that pain and you know, make my mom wrong for doing that, and not wrong as a person, just like, hey, that wasn't
not cool.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Not cool, Mom.
And would you say then in that process, you also realized how little it had to do with her and how much it had to do with you and the way you were synthesizing and believing in yourself, like the story you were ending up with about yourself?
Yes, thank you for saying that. You just like a light bulb just went on. Yes, because I internalized all of it.
Like her thing.
It's her thing.
It was just really her thing. But I think that we must, I mean, some people, I'm just going to say it, might call that forgiveness. And if you listen to our forgiveness episodes, you'll hear about all the heartburn I have around the word forgiveness. But in the greater picture, that it's like the ultimate of letting go, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate of separating what they're doing for them and all the weird reasons they're doing it from what it really says about you in the world.
Yeah.
And saying, you're not going to get to take away the next moments
No.
that are filled with love because of the story you carry.
Yeah.
Like you don't get access to those precious times with your partner looking at the world through the eyes that you have right now. You know, like I just think we get to protect access from the wrongdoing. And it's not from the person, it's from their actions. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You are. And it was an untangling of the kind of codependent relationship that we had in that I had internalized her voice and her stuff, which by the way, of course, wasn't meant to be a hurtful, hateful thing. It was more like, I understand that she was worried about me and how the world would see me and treat me if I decided to love loudly. Her venom was meant to be the antidote, she thought.
Right.
So yes, being able to separate that from myself, yeah, that is forgiveness without necessarily having to say like, I forgive you, Mom. It's
right.
Like we untangle our stuff and I love you and you can work through that and I'm going to be me.
Yep. And if you hate the word forgiveness as much as I do, that's okay. You can just call it whatever you want. Because I think forgiveness is just thick with cultural implications. But
I think it's like unburdening. That's what it feels like to me.
That. Unburdening. I'm not going to carry that. Well, we talk about like, I'm not carrying this backpack full of your shit around anymore. No. I'm tired of it.
It's heavy.
It's heavy and unnecessary. And the only person who suffers such a weird approach to life, to be the only one who suffers in order to teach some sort of lesson. Just think about that. Another thing I thought of was just, my dad died just 3 months after my daughter, and he was only 61, and he had a fast and swift heart attack and decline, and boom, it was like the end of October when he had his heart attack, and he was gone by the middle of December. And I mean, he was the kind of dad who was the best man at my brother's wedding. He was just a really very good dad, and somebody who I had, in just that short time of losing Marley and his death, had really, his heart attack, so really only like a month and a half, I had really convinced myself that one of the ways I was going to survive is because I had him.
Oof.
So that was like, well, no. And then I was able to convince myself that one of the ways I was going to survive is because he was going to go be with her, which was really interesting. But that's not why I brought this up. I brought this up because my brother and I have endured the loss of my dad so differently. Like I don't know anything about his process, which is not my business. It's fine. I know that no matter what, he's in one. But did you and your sister find, despite your shared projects and, emotional IQ, did you find that there was still a really different process happening for the two of you?
Yes, there was a different process happening for sure. And I won't speak too much to her process because she's not here to verbalize it, but I will say that I think she'd be okay with me saying that she also is a queer person. She's married to a woman, and she very much protected her sense of self growing up. So while I tried to kind of straddle two worlds, my sister really protected her sense of self and drew those boundaries
Who's
in
the
real
older
time.
sister?
My sister is. Did you guess that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So
but she did it differently. So then the relationship was different.
So she had a different she had a different relationship to grief. She had more separation from my mom. And so it was harder. I don't want to say harder, but there was a bigger gap to bridge, I think, for her to get to having a continued relationship with Mom.
And the true reason I bring that up is not to dig around in your family, but what I'm thinking about is that, whether we're talking about my dad and my brother and my experience and his, you and your sister, how important it is for grievers and supporters to know that you can be in the same family, losing the same person, and there's still no like, oh, I understand. It just, I mean, in some ways it exists because, yeah, of course you understand. He's our dad. She's our mom. But because the relationship is unique, like there's actually no comparison.
Yep.
Even when you're very close, even when you share the person, even when you shared your house and you were like, I mean, even twins, I bet, have very different experiences. And I just want to make sure people give themselves as supporters or grievers permission to just like set down the comparison.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand. You just have to witness, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I am kind of curious what the kindest thing anybody said to you was.
Ooh, what the kindest thing anyone said to me? What's the kindest thing anyone said to me? You know, I can't even remember the words that this person said to me, but my friend Tasnova, shout out Tasnova if you're listening.
You better be listening.
You better be listening. She had also lost her mom a few years prior, and she texted me like a novel and sent me a few songs along with it. And I can't even tell you the words that she said. It just felt like a transmission, and it was like just a deep understanding, and it just cut straight to the soul. I'm a person that words are my love language, and so and it's very hard to find the words when someone's freshly grieving. Sometimes the words don't even exist.
Yeah.
But I can just say that however she said the words, it just was the most loving, understanding transmission of energy that I had received, and I just felt like, whoa, she gets it. She's in my heart right now. Yeah. So yeah.
I think that you're exactly right too, because it's not going to always be about words. And maybe on the card it says words, but if you read these, you know, you can think about the kindest thing, the kindest gesture, the kindest time, the most cared for. And I know some of mine definitely don't include any speaking. Just a willingness to be next to me. Like my massage therapist, who didn't know me before my loss, but had offered to take me under her massage wings once I had entered this part of my life. And I mean, she would just be with me as I would just shake and rattle and sob. And this woman didn't even know me. Like there was no loyalty that was bringing her to that table. You know, it was truly a willingness to be open and kind and care for. Libby, thank you.
Huge. She's grief informed.
She is grief informed. She is definitely grief informed, because her ability to just like really truly take care of somebody she didn't even know in that way was just profound for sure. And then the closest people, the ones who were able to just say, I can't fix it. I'm just gonna be with you. I'm just gonna be with you and doing the thing. It's just amazing.
Thank goodness for those people.
Thank goodness for those people.
Yeah.
Be one of those people.
Be one of those people. I didn't know what I needed in the beginning. And when I finally learned anything that I needed, it was just like my partner would come over and I would say, we're going to lay in my bed in the dark and stare at the ceiling, and I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
And you're going to every once in a while put your hand on me. But if you start moving your hand, I might make it stop because it's like too much.
Too much.
It just, yeah, the presence, the not trying to fix or save or advise, just like the container.
Yeah. And I think that like I've been divorced now for a few years, and I'm in a very loving relationship, and for him to be a part of my life now, and there's like this beautiful gift of him not having to have been through all of that with me, right? But then there's, I feel like, kind of a little bit of a disadvantage too, because I bet it's really easy for him. He will hear this and he will argue, because he will say he never forgets, and I bet he doesn't, but it doesn't feel as present. I think he sees me as like this going for it, mom, fun, good, friend, worker. And then I almost feel like I have to be like, don't forget. I will never be normal. And you might be thinking today that I'm a normal person, but don't you dare forget I'm not normal. And he would be like, it's very clear, Sarah, that you're not normal. I mean, that would probably be his response. But, and I use normal with air quotes, you know, but I think, do you ever find that people who meet you post loss, it's like a whole different part of you?
Yes. Yes, it so is. And I also, just what you're describing, I'm thinking of how short the pipeline is from like minor inconvenience to the person I love is dead. Like, it's just like, oh, I spilled my coffee and my mom's dead. What the fuck?
Oh my God. Yeah, I can bring everything down to that. The fence blew down. Well, if my daughter was alive, probably that wouldn't, like, nothing matters. I can tie everything to my loss. You're exactly right. Everything. And I think that for people that meet us after, for them to remember that everything can be tied to that is a little bit of a trick sometimes.
It's so hard to remember. I mean, I think before I experienced this loss, when I would meet people who had experienced great loss, I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's something that happened 3 years ago. And if they bring it up, we can talk about it. But if they don't, like, clearly it's not on their mind anymore. What?
Right. The things we learn.
Yeah, it is always there. I remember someone talking to me. I hadn't seen her in like 12 years. And when I lost my mom, she asked to go for a walk. And I'm thinking, okay, this person wants to talk to me about what happened, because clearly she saw on social media. And we go for this whole walk, and all the compassion for her. I would have done the same thing pre-loss. We go through the whole walk, not a word about my mom. And at the very end, she's like, so I don't want to, bring it up if it's not, like, I don't want to make you sad by bringing it up, but how are you feeling after losing your mom? And I'm like, oh my God, it is literally right here all the time. You're not going to like suddenly bring it up. It's always here. And when you bring it up, I feel so much safer, and I can just
everybody hear that into your bones. When you bring it up. And I don't know about you, Aurena, but if somebody brings it up and I don't want to talk about it, I can also say, not now. But you're not going to suddenly remind me that this thing has occurred in my life.
I'm not going to be like, I remember. Oh, shit. That did happen to me.
Shoot.
Why did you just bring that up?
Why'd you remind me?
I forgot.
I wasn't great. Thanks. That's not how it goes.
No, it's like, oh, the elephant in the room. No, I always see her. She sits right next to me 24/7. If you point it out, I'm just going to be like, thank God you see this elephant too.
You see it too. That is beautiful. Exactly. and it kind of, okay, so then that brings me to this card, which is tell me about the hardest or most surprising secondary loss you have experienced. So first, tell us all what a secondary loss is.
A secondary loss, I think I could better tell you by giving kind of an example. It's like, it's not the primary loss is the person that died. Secondary losses can be tangible things, or they can be, like, for instance, versions of your future that you envisioned that will not come to fruition. A secondary loss could be like, oh, now my mom doesn't get to be at my wedding, or this person I really thought was going to be there just dropped off the face of the earth. Secondary loss is another thing to kind of add to the list of griefs that you didn't anticipate to happen after losing that one person.
Yeah. I thought I was going to lose my career. I didn't think I could ever do my work again. So that was interesting to get that back. But it's
sense of identity,
how you move through your home, the way you wear clothes, how you care for yourself, the car you drove, the job you had, the people, the relationships, all of it. There's a lot of secondary losses.
It should be like there should be like a millionth loss, because it just never stops.
It's true, because everything has changed. Everything has changed. And if we consider that a loss of predictability, of control, of the future, then everything.
Your understanding of the world, your perception of what can happen,
your relationship with God. I mean, I bet a lot of people's secondary loss is what happens with what they thought about God.
Yes, totally.
Which is a really big, hard deal.
Yeah.
And just think, if you took this card as a clinician, as a friend, as a partner, and said, just tell me about it, and just listened, because it doesn't say, tell me about it, and then I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
It just says, tell me about it. Tell me about what that is. I mean, what an opening. What an incredible opening. You guys are so smart.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell people where they can find you.
You can find us on Instagram at planet.grief. You can also find our decks, or our deck and then my sister's other decks, at hackyournervoussystem.com. And honestly, if you just Google Planet Grief Deck, you can find there are a lot of vendors that sell it now. Thank you. And
including Clear Mourning, my nonprofit.
oh,
Yes,
yay.
we sell them.
I love that.
And now they're also displayed in the lobby of my office, and the other ones too.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you.
Well, you'll have to come to Bend, Oregon someday and see them.
I'm going to have to. I mean, there's no other way.
Well, Aurena and I have talked a little bit, just touched on what it would be like to have something continue between the two of us and work. So keep an eye at Clear Mourning. Follow all of our stuff. This podcast, Enduring Grief, Healing Practices and True Stories of Living After Loss. And I mean, everything that we talked about today from your deck, the work that you and your sister did together, your own work is driven by true stories and healing practices of living after loss. Like that is what you're doing, and what a beacon. And you are like a lighthouse for people living through grief, because if you hear anything today, I hope that there is hope for me yet. That if you are in the very darkest bottom of the barrel days of your grief, that you can hear us talk about how it was for us when we were there, and ways that we've learned because we were able to look back on to say, I wish I could have climbed out using these tools. So use that or whatever, but mostly like hang on, like there is hope for you yet, and you might not believe me, and that's okay, but just hear it.
Yeah.
And is there anything you wished for sure that they hear today that we haven't covered?
There's something that's going through my mind as you're talking about there being hope. And I want to reinforce that and like emphasize that, because in this experience, there can be such dark days and dark chapters. And I was reading In the Absence of the Ordinary by Francis Weller recently, and he's talking about the stage of like the darkening, and he talks about he quoted a psychotherapist named, I think, Jennifer Wellwood, and he says you're in the wild dance of no hope.
Oh my goodness, damn it! Yeah,
and
so
I'm like,
true.
God, if I could have just been told to embrace that and to let it be okay that I had no hope at one point, then I could have, I don't know, just more trustfully moved through that chapter with an awareness that there are so many people saying there is another side to this, and it doesn't mean that it's all bright and, happy, but it includes so much color and so much beauty if only you can be with what's here now.
You got to go in the room.
You got to go in the room.
You got to go in the room. And sometimes that room is going to feel really hopeless. And sometimes that room is going to have zero light. And you're just going to be feeling your way around. And then other times, like in the case of our room today, we figure out how to open the curtains and it's filled with light. You just got to figure it out though, right?
Yeah.
And you can't stop trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You just got to be dedicated to figuring it out. And some days that means I'm going to figure it out by putting my feet on the floor and seeing what happens. Other days it's like I'm going to figure it out by pressing all these buttons and doing a podcast and making Planet Grief deck cards, because why not? It's there, and it's all the things in between. But yeah, hopelessness is as much something to move through as real true hope.
Yeah. And when you open that curtain, you'll see that there are so many other people out there waiting to embrace you and say, like, we know how this feels and we're right here. Yeah. I also, last thing I will say is you can also find me at inner-compass-therapy.com, because I lead parent loss grief groups, which
Wonderful.
I have found to be the most, healing in groups communally is like the most powerful thing I have ever experienced. So I want to emphasize that.
Be in community.
Be in community.
Community is there for you. You don't ever have to do this alone. It might feel lonely, but you don't have to be alone. Follow Aurena, look at her grief groups. Maybe it speaks to you, or maybe she'll show up on our website leading a grief group one of these days. Are you taking new patients?
I am.
Okay, she's taking new clients. Line up at the door, folks. Bring the gold card. Maybe you'll get special treatment.
Oh, if you bring the gold card, you'll get a discount for sure.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much.
What a real
Sarah.
gift. I feel like we're going to be friends forever.
Oh, I know. I feel it. I'm glad you said it first.
Thank you.